I'm excited about our speaker today. We don't want to take up all his time. Chris Capper has been a long time member. How long have you been a member here at St. Matthew's?
13 years.
About 13 years, yeah. So, and I remember when he first started and he just wanted to get involved and started doing things, and you're going to hear about how that has just exploded and grown and continues to grow. So we're excited to hear about that change and the JOMM, J-O-M-M, Just One More Ministry. I think it's up here. And what he has done with that and where it continues to go and how God continues to bless it and be a blessing to others. So welcome, Chris Capper.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
How is everybody today? Cold. Pastor, I'm not going to say anything about the clothing that you have on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm Chris Capper. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I was involved with drugs and alcohol for 39 years of my life. This past August 6th, I celebrated 12 years with the Lord. I'm going to start. There's a couple phases. I prepare a couple things, but generally when I talk to individuals or groups, I let the Lord speak through me. I listen to what He's saying to me, and I had quiet time last night, some quiet time this morning. So it's going to be more off the cuff. And so if there's any questions, which I'm sure there will be, just hold them until the end, because I might get to the question at the end rather than the beginning. So I grew up in Whitefish Bay. I'm going to give you a little history about me. Grew up in Whitefish Bay, lived there until I went to college. My father passed when I was 12 years old. I had a wonderful upbringing. There was no reason for me to do the drugs and the alcohol, except that I have a very addictive personality. Which at the time when you start, you don't know this when you get involved in something. Some people like food. The fastest growing addiction in the world is your cell phone or computer. So I'm just going to challenge everybody, for 24 hours on some weekend, don't answer your phone, don't go by your computer. Then think of how many times you think of those two items. That, oh, I should go on my phone. Oh, the phone's ringing, I should answer it. With an addiction with alcohol and drugs, it's about 1,000 times as intensive as that is. So alcohol actually alters the brain. It changes how we think. It forms the addiction. And that's the problem with alcohol, that they can't find something that'll bring the brain back to normal, except God. So, I drank and I did drugs for 39 years. I've been arrested 4 times. And just a little side note, because we want to get charged on time. I was called for jury duty my second time this past Wednesday and Thursday. And lo and behold, what kind of case did they want me to put me on?
Alcohol.
There we go, OWI. So, again, then when the judge asks you questions and the attorneys, and you have to be honest, and I said, well, I have 4 of these. And so needless to say, I was not put on that jury. So I've been incarcerated in jail 3 times. I've been in the House of Correction twice. I've been totally incarcerated for a little over a year. And what the real effect of my drinking and doing the drugs in my life was, I lost the relationship with my mom for a while. I have 4 children. Going to be emotional, sorry. Lost my relationship with 4 of my kids for over 25 years. And since I've been back with the Lord, 3 of the children have come alongside of me. My son still doesn't talk to me. So, terrible, terrible effect for alcohol. Huge on what it does to families. And that's what it did to my family. That's what I did. And the first time I saw my 2 oldest girls, they wanted to come down to meet me at the ministry when we were down at Redeemer. So they came down and volunteered, and that's how we reconnected. So I lost numerous jobs. I lied to people. I stole from people. I sold drugs to young people. And the biggest, as I look back, the biggest problem with doing is that becomes your God. When you are addicted to something, that's what you live for. In my case, it was drugs and alcohol. So that becomes your God. You get up in the morning and say, okay, now, how can I get high today? What do I have to do today to get high? And now it's a little bit different. I get out of bed and say, okay, Lord, what are we going to do today? So there's a little bit of a switch there. But the biggest area that hurt me I lost my relationship with Jesus Christ. So for 39 years, I really wasn't with him. And how I came to St. Matt's, I was, again, for probably the 2000th time, wanting to stop drinking and doing the drugs. So I said, okay, maybe we should go to church, that might help. So I visited a bunch of churches and ended up coming here and then talking to Pastor Gary a little about becoming a member and stuff, and I really wasn't sold on coming here. Again, no, you're going to hear that I wasn't sold on coming here. That's the addict. It's always about I instead of we. So eventually I end up coming here, and I didn't want to take the membership classes because I was always a Lutheran. I was a member of Lake Park Lutheran Church, and Pastor Gary just said you can't be a member here unless you do it. So okay, I did it. To make a long story short, here's the reason I came here. We started a Celebrate Recovery group years ago. We don't have it here anymore. That's a faith-based, Christ-centered recovery program. It's throughout the world. It's huge. It's my favorite program. And we got to start a meal ministry. Now, how do we start the meal ministry? Tom Guide, who's sitting right here, was starting a program. He came from another church, and he was going to go down to the guest house. And I became interested because at the guest house, that's where 60 to 70 men go that are recovering. They don't want to stop doing the drugs and the alcohol. So I was just out of the House of Correction, and I thought that maybe that would be good if I could just tell them my story. A little bit, it might affect one person. So I signed up to go down and volunteer doing that, and we did that for a while, and then Tom took on Cross and a couple other places. And how JOMM initially started was we were doing a food drive for Reformation Church. And again, now here comes the drugs into play. Someone I used to buy pot from and smoke pot with, his father was part of a huge bread ministry. So I thought that, okay, I'll go and get bread from him. So we filled a banana box, 20 loaves of bread, and brought it to church and went down to Reformation. That's the initial start of JOMM. That's how initially it started. So I want to make a point. The drugs and Christ. Using the bad is now becoming good. Because all we have to really do is just say yes to him and not say no. So that's initially how we started, and then I would come here and I would pick up the leftover lunches and if they had dinners or whatever, and go down to Repairs of the Breach and drop them off. And so I was expanding a little bit, and the big impetus for JOMM was when Pastor Chris called me one day when I was at home and said, you've got to come down here. SAS is catering a Kiwanis lunch, and they're going to throw all the food away. So I'm in my comfortable chair, but here comes God tapping me on the shoulder through Pastor Chris. So how do you say no to that? Has anybody tried to say no to Pastor Chris? Really?
Plenty of people.
Especially when he has a camera in hand.
So I came down here, and they couldn't give me the food. They had to go back to SAS Catering, and then they were on State Street. Now they're on the south side. But they gave me the name and the phone number of the gentleman that ran the program. So I went home that afternoon and called him, and he said, come down on Friday and we'll sit down and talk. And He started the conversation off, he said, I don't mind donating, but we just stopped donating food to someone because they were taking it home. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do with it. So he said, if that's what you're gonna do, don't even go any further. And I said, well, no, here's what we do now. So we talked for a couple hours. And when we were done, he said, I'm gonna give you a chance. You can get all our prepared food. We're still doing that to this day. They are our biggest donor of prepared food. That's our niche in the food business in Milwaukee. We have prepared food. So what we do with that is we turn it into family meals for sizes of two family member or 4 family member. And then we hand it out to our partners, and then they hand it out to the folks that come to them. We do not serve any meals at JOMM. What we are is basically a food distributor. We have, I think, 46 organizations that donate food to us. State Fair. We have a couple people, we get the cream puffs from there. This year we had a record amount of cream puffs. It was almost 12,000 cream puffs. So think of the 12,000 cream puffs going basically to the children that even if they get to the fair from the city, aren't going to have $4 to buy a cream puff. So that's why we go do that. We pick up from the Five Service Center. We pick up from Johnsonville. We're direct partners with Johnsonville. So this summer we got almost a semi-full of sausage from them. We are partners with Reinhardt. Reinhardt distributes to all the restaurants and country clubs in the city. We just did that. We are partners with Kroger Pick and Save, their distribution center out in Waukesha. And we have a couple other large ones that we now deal with. This all comes from word of mouth. This is all God interacting with people. Did you hear about this organization that does this? That's all God. That's all how this works in what we do. So, where do we do now? We started with 1 box of bread. And I'm going to give you a sheet I'm going to pass out, but I want to tell you how this. Can we just pass this in? So, see now I'm speaking out of turn, so to speak. I'm going to go back. And this is you folks here. You have to understand. You don't have to understand, but this church is powerful. What they do with volunteers, what they do with all the money that we donate to this church, when I tell people that we are an outreach ministry of St. Matthew's, which we are an outreach ministry of St. Matthew's. We're a separate 501c3. We have to be to raise money in order to exist, but we are an outreach of this church. And you people should know that you reach into avenues in the city that you don't know about. So here's what you do in the mission statement. And this is what you did to me. And in a minute you're going to see some other things. Call to fulfill the Great Commission. St. Matthew's welcomes all to faith in Jesus Christ. The falling down drunk and drug addict. Nurtures our faith journey. Equips us to serve others. And sends us in the world to make a difference. In Jesus' name. That's exactly what Pastor Gary, what Pastor Chris, and what Pastor Margaret did for this ministry. So you should know what goes on in this church. So, when you get a sheet, did everybody have a sheet of this? Okay, take a peek at where we were in 2010. Now, so we're basically in our 9th year now. We rescued 70,000 pounds of food. We served 10,000 meals. We have 12 volunteers. You can go across and look. Okay, now look at what's going on this year. God's going to bless us with 1 million pounds of food that will be thrown in a landfill. What does that mean? We have 60,000 children in this city that don't know where the next meal is coming from. 83% qualify for the food program where they get free breakfast and free lunch. In the city of Milwaukee, 100% get it. They just said, okay, that's too close to 100, so everybody gets it. So what we had for breakfast Today, we had a young lady that used to work for us. She came here and worked for us. She's now down in Georgia with her boyfriend. But there were 7 children in her family. They were eating once every 2 days. So think of what you just ate now. Today's Saturday. You're not going to eat again until Monday. Hunger is the #1 deterrent for good education among children. 60,000 hungry children aren't getting the correct education because you can't concentrate when you don't eat. That's what the government tells us. So when you look at the statistics here, meals served, 312, I think we're going to go beyond that. I think God's going to give enough food, we're going to be closer to 360 or 370,000. Volunteers, we already passed that. We have over 400 volunteers that make this ministry function when we count all of our partners. So there's 400 people on a weekly basis that get out of their chair, and what did God tell us? Go and make disciples, are going to make disciples, because Pastor Gary, Pastor Chris, and Pastor Margaret had faith in one person to do it. So what does that do to other people when I tell the story? Open your heart the size of a mustard seed and say yes to the Lord and see where He's going to take you. Now, out of these 400 volunteers, we have a few here that have been with this ministry almost since the start. So everybody that has volunteered at Just One More, would you just kindly stand for a second? Okay, so we'll go this way. Don Burchell, everybody knows Don Burchell. Everybody knows Don Burchell. He's been with us about
Fame or infamy.
He's been with us almost 8 years. We delivered to one partner, and Don and I would go down and deliver years ago to that partner. Larry Pierce has been with us almost from the beginning. He runs our family meals, the 2 and the 4. We put those together on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Larry comes every Tuesdays and Thursdays when he's in town and runs that program. So how many people does God give us food for to feed out of that program? It's about 1,500 people a week. Jim Bowen's been with us since the beginning. Jim does everything. Whatever needs to be done, Jim does. Dave Baggerberg doesn't come now because he's telling me that Connor works him too hard, so he doesn't have time to serve the Lord. So he has 2 jobs. But Dave used to come all the time and do the family meals and some other stuff too. And then we have Gordon Maley. And when we left St. Matthews because we had to for space-wise, Pastor Chris had a request that we would have 1 member be on the board from St. Matthews. And Pastor Chris thought Gordon would be a good person on the board. What a wise choice, Pastor Chris. Although the shorts aren't so good. The choice for Gordon. So what Gordon does is we have big intake days on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're partners with Feeding America. And we go out and pick up food from their stores. Targets, Walmarts, Whole Foods. Gordon comes every Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and helps sort it and put it away. He also does all of our financial record keeping, etc. And that's a huge job. So what Gordon gives to this ministry is probably 20 to 25 hours a week in volunteering. So these 5 people come from this church, and we have some youth groups that come, the confirmation class comes once in a while, etc., and volunteers on a regular basis. I'd like you folks to come once and see what goes on and talk to our partners that pick up the food so you can see what the difference is by just one more person. That's where the name comes from. See, I'm going all over, but it all ties in. So you guys can sit down now. I know you're going to get tired. Thank you. Thank you for the So just one more. What does that mean? It's just one more meal we're putting together. It's just one more donor that gives us food. It's one more partner that we have. It's one more person that walks through the door that we have the opportunity to introduce to Christ. and not so much by word of mouth all the time, but what are we doing? How are we conducting ourselves? We try to put the meals together so they're good for our family. So if my mom would come down and visit us, she could have a meal, she would like it. We try and do the best with what God gives us. So it's always just one more. Where is that person? What are they doing? Do we have time to sit down and say hello to them and pray with them, or is it about us? And are we in a hurry? So part of that ministry is we're trying not to be in a hurry, except when you unload the truck, some of the volunteers do that. So staying with the volunteers, we have the Easter Seal people come now and volunteer. The Goodwill people come and volunteer. It gives those folks a chance who are challenged to come and share, to have something to do, to build the relationships with us and with the other kids and adults that come, because this is the only time during the week that they get out of the facility, when they come to volunteer. So having that faith in one person, opening your heart just a smidgen, mustard seed size, to serve the Lord, leads all over in His kingdom. He is alive and well in this world. We just have to give Him a chance to come into our lives, to show us what we can do for Him and touch all these people that need touching. So, 60,000 children in our city are hungry. We throw away 40% of edible food in this country. It was get ready for this, $265 billion worth of food last year. Do you think we could do anything to make the world better with $265 billion if we could find a way not to throw 10 or 15% of that food away? The government says that everybody here, if you live in a household, throws roughly $1,000 worth of edible food away each year. So say there's 50 of us here. We are throwing away $50,000 worth of edible food. So the government tells us. That's huge. So how can we stop that? Long process. It starts with one person. So again, just one more. So when you look at this, where are we and where are we going? I can't tell you. Every day is a new revelation from God, because we have regular pickups, but we get lots and lots of calls from people that aren't on a scheduled basis, and they give us food. We have volunteers that come that we don't know are coming, so they're just touched. They've heard about us, or through a friend or a neighbor or through a church or whatever, and they come. I do know this, that because we don't say no to the Lord, we try not to. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get upset when things don't go right. But for the most part, all of us, this ministry is just a little example of what the Lord can do through us. There's lots of people that are going to be fed. I'll be dead and buried, and this ministry will be alive, and hopefully someday we can feed 1 million people a year. We can save 5 million pounds of food that the Lord would want us to have if we just open our hearts and don't say no. So, we have 7 employees, 3 full-time, 4 part-time. We basically only hire people that corporate America would not hire. They have stories. No one would hire me. I've been in jail 4 times. You have 4 DUIs. You're a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. You're 56 years old. Who's going to hire me? God. So we hire these people that have stories. Some are felons. A lot of them have been in jail. But the key point is here now they're turning their lives around. They're coming to understand that it's about serving God. So they come. Are we perfect? No. Do they miss some days? Yes. Do they come late? Yes. Do they have an excellent work ethic? No. That's what makes this ministry. God has put a bunch of us together that aren't perfect, that wouldn't fit in the corporate world, yet He's going to give us the food, He's going to bring us the partners, He's going to bring us the vehicles, He's going to bring us the money to serve 350,000 people this year a meal. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He runs this ministry. He only put me here because I'm probably the worst person that is employed there. So he puts me out, and if I have a whole bunch of time and sometimes you want to just hear my story in length, I can do that. But he takes these groups of people, these people that come, and some don't stay. Some just don't fit into what God's trying to do there. So they don't stay. But it's such a blessing for me to go there, and I'm sure for Gordon and some of the other people that come from a church like this, to be associated with some folks in the city that didn't have the education. They didn't get breakfast 7 days a week. They don't have the clothes. Yet they come, and they serve. And that's why we do this. I'm sorry, but come and see the people, talk to them. It's an amazing group of people. So, we have a little bit of time left over. Where are we going? I just found out a couple days ago that our property that we rent from is probably sold. They're going to build a big 55 and over senior living house on houses and apartments on the property next to ours and our property. So we're probably going to have to move sooner than we thought. Our lease is up September 1st. We might have to vacate February 1st or March 1st. They go in front of the Tulsa zoning commission and all that through December 4th, and then December 4th they make their final decision. I'm guessing it's probably going to be yes, but they'll probably build that. So we're going to have to move. God was ahead of them a little bit. We started a couple months ago because we started here in about 400 square feet. We went down to Redeemer, which had about 1,500. We're in a 9,000 square foot building. We're now looking for a 15 to 20,000 square foot building, so we won't have to move in 5 years again, because God just keeps growing this ministry. So we don't want to disappoint him. So it's probably going to be a 15 to 20,000 square foot building. We need another freezer. We have a 15 by 25 foot freezer. We need another one. We have a 10 by 20 foot cooler. We need another one. We need a new forklift. So we need to spend lots and lots of money. So if you want to donate some money, please give it to St. Matthew's first, because I don't want to get a call from Pastor Chris. So give it to St. Matthew's first, and if your heart, you want to feed some hungry people, you can donate to us. You can go on our website, Just One More Ministry. There's a place to do it. You can put it in the mail. We're at 6442 River Parkway. Come down and volunteer. That's more important than the money. That'll touch your heart. And I think that's what God wants to do, touch all of his children's heart in some way. And what you can really help us with is prayer. Pray for us. Pray for our partners. Pray for the people that are hungry. Pray for the people that have addictions. They're the ones that need the help the most. So please do that. Now I'm going to stop talking. So are there any questions? Okay, we'll just go this way.
So are you the CEO or is God the CEO?
God's the CEO. They tell me I'm the CEO and the founder, but when I go talk to people, I just say yes. That's my job. I just try to say yes and not say no to anybody. And I think that God likes that because we're growing. And Gordon gives me these numbers, and he comes in and shakes his head all the time. Then I'll get then Gordon comes in and gives me all these numbers, and through August of this year, compared to August of last year, we had 55% growth. The 3 years before that, we grew over 40% each year. So you can look at this thing and figure out what God is doing here. So you know why you need help now.
Do you collect fresh fruit and vegetables?
Absolutely. There's some, we're having a board meeting in October, so I can't say what's going to happen because Gordon will scold me. But we have a couple opportunities to be part of a garden. And so we're going to need volunteers to do this, like an acre. Someone's going to donate an acre of land to us out in Mequon, and we can plant fresh vegetables and things like that.
Yeah, I ask, it's like on that webcast, I see the guy, he's taking out what looks like a perfectly great apple or whatever, and putting one that's all perfect. And I don't know where that other one's going.
It goes to us. Metcalf's the partners of ours. We pick up there 6 days a week. wonderful people.
I so appreciate the miracle of gathering the food and delivering it. Can you say a little bit about our sister churches that are serving, where these relationships flourish among the poor?
Sure.
How many? And
We have 11 ELCA church partners,
Thank you.
I believe.
Thank you.
We have, out of our, see, I don't get to this now, this is the word. We have over 70 partners now. They come and pick up food from us on a regular basis. Some not weekly, most everyone weekly, some bi-weekly, some once a month, but over 70 partners. We have, I think, almost half of our partners are churches, and a big portion of our donors are small churches. St. Matthew's gives us food. Lots of smaller churches, when they have an outing or a lunch outing or a dinner, we'll call now. They know where we are. My biggest job right now, so if you need to know, is controlling the growth. Because we need, when we take another donor on, then we have to have partners that will be able to use the food. We have to have people that go pick the food up. We have to have volunteers to sort it. We have to have employees that will put the menu together for one of our partners. So it's a whole different thing. By the time we pick up the food, it's been handled 11 times until the person eats it, on average. Donald?
This is not a question. I'm here to thank you. We're one of those donors you donate to, Reformation Lutheran.
Yes.
You know, as we do, you know, I'm thanking you for getting the kids over to the place to volunteer this summer. You know, really they came and they loved it, and you know, I enjoy seeing them doing something responsible. You know, especially with someone who's gonna teach them how to do it and do it with God. So I want to commend you, Chris.
Well, thank you, but Gordon works in the back a lot of times with the volunteers.
Yes.
So he would know more about the Reformation kids that came. We had, I think, 5. I think we had
Yes.
3 girls and 2 boys, I
Yes.
believe. And
I was the one dropping them off.
you were the one dropping them off.
I was the one dropping them
We
off.
get kids from all different churches. Another thing, again, about building relationships. I don't have enough time to go through everything that we do, but we build relationships. We go and make disciples because that's what God tells us to do.
That's my point. You start with the kids and let you do
We start with the kids.
That's good because they are the future of the ministry.
And we want to feed the hungry kids too. And when Pastor Chris read Matthew 25:35 through 40, that's one of our biblical phrases that we're based on.
Yeah.
And the other one is John 6:12. So when after Christ fed the 5,000, which were men, so there were more because women weren't counted then, which I learned from one of Pastor Chris's sermons. He told his disciples in John 6:12, gather the leftovers,
Yes.
so nothing is wasted. Cooked, prepared food.
Yes.
So we base our ministry on those 2 things. Anybody else? Come on, there have to be lots of questions.
Can you talk a little bit about volunteering, what days of the week you need people, do you need to sign up in advance? How many hours do you volunteer at a time, that kind of stuff?
Thank you, wonderful question. You can go on our website, there's a couple different ways you can sign up, or you can call if you want. You can talk to Eva or Ray. We primarily need volunteers Monday through Friday in the morning, because in the afternoon by 2 or 2:30, we're pretty much done with what goes on for the day. From the stores, you have to pick the food up early because they have trucks coming with the fresher food. So they want the food that they're not gonna use out. Our partners that put on lunches and dinners want to pick it up in the morning so they can get ready for the day. So in the afternoon, we're relatively quiet. I'm there at 6:30 in the morning. You don't have to come at 6:30. 6:45 is good. 6:45 would be good. If you want to volunteer for an hour, come for an hour. If you want to just come and chat, come and chat. But talk to Gordon, because we're trying to get Gordon to talk more. So come and see Gordon. I'm picking on Gordon a little. We had our inventory yesterday. So, and Gordon does all that. But come in the morning. We do a Saturday thing. We're going to try and start with an evening thing because we're getting more and more requests from churches that they want to bring kids and they want to have a family thing in the evening because people work during the day and go to school. So hopefully by mid-October we'll have one night, maybe a Thursday night, and we already have a Saturday morning. We're there almost 6 days a week now. So come. If you can't come during the week, we'll put something on for you at night because again, I don't think God wants us to say no, so we try not to. Can you imagine there's 400 volunteers that make this thing work? Look what God has done.
No disciples.
No,
I never told you this, Chris, but I didn't know you before. But I've known you since. I would never have guessed that you had a problem. But you influenced the decision I made as an alderman some years ago. We had a gentleman come in, he was African American, for a liquor license. His employer, who owned the restaurant, came in with him. And he told us he'd been incarcerated for a number of years because he was a drug addict and he sold drugs. He said it saved his life because he couldn't no longer get his hands on drugs. And he had been drug-free for a number of years since he had been released. His employer told us, I chaired the Legislation and Licensing Committee, and his employer told us that he trusted this man. He was an excellent worker, and he would allow him to lock up at night. That's how much he trusted him. And he said, I think he should have a liquor license. So I looked at my co-chair, who was John Dubinsky, a former police detective, and I said, John, I think the man has changed his life. I think we can, his employer's behind him. I said, I think we can get him a liquor license. And John said, I think you're right. So we did, and it was because of your life change. I saw in this man the same life change.
Amen.
And thought that he should have a second chance. So God does give people a second chance. And the other story was I witnessed you pray, and within an hour I saw the prayer answered. I don't know if you remember this, but we got a box of cream puffs, and we were taking them down to Pastor Mary Martha, and you said, you prayed, you said, Lord, should we take these along? Do they really need these? And then you said your prayer was answered. You said, yeah, I think we should take them along. So we went down there, and she said, oh, God bless you. She said, we have ladies from the neighborhood who help with our food volunteer are coming here tonight, and they will just love these cream puffs.
God.
That was, yeah.
I want to close with two things. Two phrases that God gave me. I can't. Jesus can, let him. I can't run my life. There's no way I can. Jesus can. Here's the hardest thing for me to do every day. Let him. Open your heart, let him. Then I have another one. Have the fat so you can sass. Have the faith and trust. We have the faith. We come to church. Wonderful church. We are motivated by the pastors that speak here and the example they set. Do we have the trust in him? So you can sass. So you can surrender. Surrender and serve. So have the fat so you can sass. Have the faith and trust in God that if you give that hour to, not us, if you're into playing the piano and you want to teach some children, if you are into building and you want to teach some children to build, go do that. But have the trust in him that it's going to go somewhere. And you're going to sit back someday and say, wow, thank you, Lord. All right, thank you, God bless.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that I got this opportunity to do this. It's a wonderful place that we come from. And remember always, we are an outreach from you folks. Thank you.
I would also encourage you, I'm always amazed, one thing God does in the church is he gives us connections.
Praise
You know,
God.
each of us has lots of connections to different people we know, through different work that we do, through neighborhoods, through friends, friendships, acquaintances. We all have lots of different connections. And when you hear the need, when you think about the needs that are out there, I bet there's all sorts of ways as you were listening that you kind of went, boy, I wonder if this could help out. Or I wonder if that would do something with this. Using those connections and bringing them all together really continues what God is doing. So I would encourage you to be thinking about those things. And then, people always say, well, would this ever help? And you go, I don't know, let's try it out. Let's see what will happen. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, that's what happened when we said, hey, we got a bunch of food. that we're gonna throw out, that I'll never forget. We had 50 pastors, Saz's did the meal, and they brought food for about 200. And we barely made a dent in this entire buffet that they had for us. And I said to the guys, what are you doing with all this food afterwards? And, oh, we throw it away. I'm like, wow, we've got a ton of food. If you wouldn't mind helping us out, cleaning up, just pushing your chairs in, cleaning up, throw your stuff away, but